I suck at jiu-jitsu. How do I suck less at jiu-jitsu?
I guess to suck less.
Ladies and gentlemen, the diabolical leader of the Head Knock Squad.
Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to the newest episode of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. So today I've got a fun one planned for you guys, and it's something we haven't done in forever on the show. It is a random show. We are just going to talk about, well, everything, I guess. I have so many different little things that I would normally just throw in the intro of a video and kind of tell you guys about and explain to you guys. But I've just been getting busier, and I've been having more and more of those little things, those little opportunities, those little stories. And I mean, the only reason that I'm in a situation where I'm getting those is because of this podcast. It's because no matter what I name an episode, even if it's the random episode, random ranting, it's going to get listened to, and it's going to get listened to by a pretty good crew of people. And thank you guys for that. That is such a blessing. But there are so many things that I want to tell you guys, because I know that you guys care about them and are interested in them, and they could hopefully inspire your jiu-jitsu. And so that is what I usually would do random shows for. And I used to just do random shows when I had nothing to talk about, and now I do random shows when I have too much to talk about. And that's what we're going to do today. I have a few really cool interviews coming up that have not been recorded yet, and I'll maybe even mention some of the cool interviews that I have for you guys. That being said, I didn't have a Tuesday episode for you. I promise I am working on getting the system perfect to consistently deliver you guys a great Tuesday episode. But again, I am still just at this point where if I were to force it, I could deliver you an episode, but I think it would hurt the quality of the show. And at this point in where we're at in the ISAJJ Jiu-Jitsu show, with all the different content creation stuff we're doing, it's just very important to me that we do not take a step backwards in quality and in helping people get better at jiu-jitsu. And so that is what all this stuff that we're going to be doing and talking about is about. I have some cool new stuff for myself to focus on, some personal goals I'll talk a little bit about, and some stuff like that. But this episode is an episode only if you like Josh McKinney. If you're like, hey, I like his content, but the guy is pretty annoying, probably not your episode. But if you're the opposite, if you're like, hey, this guy doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu, he really does suck, but he's kind of entertaining, then you'll probably like this one. But very random intro to a very random episode. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode. All right, guys. So as per usual, I am sitting down the day before an episode comes out and just talking about what has been going on lately. And what's fun about this one is, just as always, I traveled this week. I just got back in town. All of those normal things that always seem to be what life has been for me a lot lately. But this time it was vacation. And not only was it vacation, I got, of course, to do some jiu-jitsu on vacation. But I think that's a cool story in itself. We'll get there. But man, getting to just go and take a trip sometimes, just get to get away. I actually went with the family, and to just not be focused on the day-to-day, get to step back a little bit. And for me, I always like to look at the broad picture of my life, the next 6 months, the next whatever period of time it's going to be until I get another vacation. And it's one of my favorite things to do on vacations. One of the favorite reasons I love doing like a week-long vacation. And I got to do all that stuff. And then at the end, the last 2 days of our vacation, my dad and I went to a place called Freeport Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out Freeport Jiu-Jitsu. If you are in I mean, they're obviously in Freeport. They're in Freeport, Florida. But if you were in Destin, Florida, that's where we generally stay with the family. I think it's the spot to go train. I think it's a spot to drop in and train. I've been to a lot of the gyms in that area at this point. We've been going to Destin for 20 years, and getting to go to a gym and go, oh man, this is the spot. This feels a lot like home. And a lot of the gyms I went to were really great gyms, but when you're on vacation, you kind of want something that feels like home. And just the way the people were laughing and joking, and the way you were greeted, the service dog asleep on the mat for 6 hours of the 2 days of seminars, just totally sleeping in her little bed on the mat. That felt like Head Nod. That felt like my gym. And so, just absolutely wonderful people. Really loved that experience. But we were there for a Henry Akins seminar. My dad is a very big Henry Akins guy. Loves to watch his instructionals, has watched all of his instructionals, all of his interviews, just really, really likes that guy. And what was really cool is it was my first time getting to learn from him. And again, I really just hadn't learned from him. I hadn't had an opinion either way. I always noticed, though, a lot of competitors have this negative opinion of guys like Henry. Henry's an old school black belt. I believe he was Hickson's first black belt, but he was definitely was trained under Hickson for a long time, ran Hickson's school for a long time, and really is, I think a lot of people would consider him the best students of Hickson. And so this guy has been around. He's been doing jiu-jitsu for forever, right? And I've heard other people from my generation of jiu-jitsu when I was coming up, and maybe this is a reason I never actually tried to seek him out as my dad did. It's there was this bit of negative, like, oh yeah, these guys, they're old school. They don't know jiu-jitsu. I heard Keenan in an interview once say that those guys weren't very good and that purple belts could submit them. First of all, how would you know that? How would you know that to be true in any way? That's just a totally 2010s, 2020s statement. That is just so how people like to believe and live now. Oh, there's new information now, right this second. Everything that we knew before must totally be wrong. And I think that people will even listen to the ISAJJ Jiu-Jitsu show and maybe think I'm doing or saying something like that. And there's a balance to it, right? There is a bit of dogmatic, you just have to listen to what I say, right? And I think that is really, really great. To be able to throw out, right? It's really, really important to be able to ignore those things. You have to do it just because I said it. But then the other side of the coin, people like to go, well, because you said it and you were wrong about this one thing, that makes you wrong about everything. And it's this weird relationship between old school and new school. And to me, it makes absolutely no sense. My coach, Jared, he said last time he was in doing a seminar and he showed a response. I don't even remember what the situation was. I want to say it was when somebody stands in an omoplata, and he had a really nice way of dealing with it. And the guy goes, oh, old school. Right? And generally, old school guys love it when you say that. Oh, old school, that old school stuff works. And they're like, yeah, old school, pressure, these things work, right? But he didn't say that. He said, no, there's none of that. He said, there's not old school and there's new school. There's what works. And that, to me, is how we've got to look at jiu-jitsu. And so back to this Henry Akins seminar. So I loved how he taught. I just loved concepts. I love Show me, you've been on the mat for 30 years. Show me what you think about when you go to roll, because it's got to be different than what I think about. You know, I've been on the mat for 15. You learned from maybe, in some people's opinion, one of the best to ever do it too, and did probably more rounds with this person. How in the world am I going to not be excited about that perspective, right? How in the world would I discount that perspective? And I hear people do it, and it's bizarre to me. Well, then I go in and learning first experience, and I will actually, spoiler alert, it was a great experience. I'll have Henry on the show soon. We are going to get scheduled and have him on the show soon, and hopefully a couple times, because it was the first time for me in a very long time. Not that I learned something, because I always learn something. When I go to a seminar, if I'm willing to go, it pretty much, I'm engaged enough that I always learn something. But this one was different. I left not understanding certain things yet. And I never don't understand, I feel like. And just certain things he explained. And I could feel and see them to be true, but I still didn't fully understand. I couldn't say back to him what he was saying to me in any other way. I couldn't just reverbalize and go, oh, you're talking about this. It was, to me, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu experiences I've ever had. Just so cool. I still haven't actually gotten to train since, so I can't tell you guys that my jiu-jitsu has doubled or something like that. I'll keep you informed, but it was just such a cool experience. And we're going to get into what those specifics of the experience were, because he was just talking about things that I really don't think I have even thought about. And they were important, and I could just immediately go. I was actually watching matches on my plane ride home, and trying to see where I was missing. You know, watching matches from the last year, trying to see where I was missing what he was talking about, and it was a lot. It was very noticeable. It was almost as if I was like, this I don't know what the key is, but I think he does. It was just such a cool experience. I'll kind of digress from that, because like I said, we are going to get to talk to him, and you guys will get to experience that too. And I have so many questions to ask to try to understand more. And I'm so excited to kind of start learning with you guys again on the show. I feel like the last bit of time, while we've been finishing up the studio, while we've been just trying to systemize everything, I've been trying to get my, get the scheduler going to be able to always have people at the right times to do interviews, and to always have the right people. And so since then, we've just been using people close, because I am comfortable with those people. I know we're going to get great interviews out of them. And of course, we're going to keep using those people. But now we can start to extend the reach of the show a little more, and try to do some quote unquote big interviews. To me, we've done some huge interviews just with my friends on the perspectives that they bring. But I know that there are certain names and stuff that we will be having on the show soon that will really get people excited. Another name, and this is shame on me for actually not knowing this, whether or not this book is out yet. I don't know if I got an early copy or not, but I got a copy of Robert Drysdale's new book. This is the second one, kind of in his books on the history of jiu-jitsu. And, it really seems like the book is based around the question of from a conversation that he had with Carlson Gracie Jr. And Carlson Gracie, it was just at a tournament. It was at Worlds last year. It was at Master Worlds last year. And man, I am not all the way through the book, so I don't want to reveal too much, but he's going to be on the show. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about his perspective And just through reading the book, I actually sent him a message not long ago and said, hey, dude, I'm ready. I want to schedule, but I still just want to give more time to the book. I know how much time, I can see how much time and effort that this guy put into this book with all the interviews, just with everything. And yeah, I cannot explain to you guys enough how awesome this book has been. For me. I just think that the biggest perspective, the biggest takeaway, and I'll just give you a little secret. I don't want to, again, I don't even know if it's out yet. I don't want to reveal too much. But the big thing that I think that you will notice, he breaks up jiu-jitsu history in eras. And it's weird. The same things that jiu-jitsu is now, it kind of was back then. And he does such a good job and just explains it in such a great way. And so, like I said, we will get both of those guys, both Henry Akins and Robert Drysdale on. I'm sure we'll have a few other big names. We've been planning so many different episodes, and I'm just excited to get started. And yeah, I think that that is all on the list of kind of new episodes coming out. We also, if you guys haven't been paying attention to the Gi Gazette, or you are not a subscriber on our YouTube channel, I post every episode of the ISAJJ Jiu-Jitsu Show on the YouTube channel. You may not realize this, but every episode, I think since episode 50, comes with video. And so if you ever want to, you can always check these episodes out on YouTube and see me, like, staring at the camera like a psycho. And so that's always fun, I guess. You could always do that. But on this YouTube channel, we have been doing all kinds of different things. I recently, just in the last week, we posted rolling footage with my dad, Steve McKinney, and I. So we did like a 5-minute round, and I didn't really even, let him know what we were doing or why we were recording it. I just, we were starting in mounts and doing live rounds at the gym, and he and I usually will do 1 or 2 rounds on Saturdays. And I just jumped on him. We did a round, and it's really, really fun. It's actually way faster paced than I anticipated, but you guys will really, really like that. We also, producer of the ISAJJ Jiu-Jitsu Show, the interviews, Bryce Allen, and the man behind the reels that you're seeing all over Instagram and YouTube, he filmed and edited a vlog for us for the first time. And so I always tell you guys about these crazy tournament weekends that we have, and Bryce captured a little bit of one. And it was also same weekend I was doing a seminar. And so the tournament, we came up to support TAC Team Kansas City, which is going to be Parada Jiu-Jitsu and I guess Team Bava, but they train out of Body Fit in Kansas City. So those two teams always there to support and try to help those guys. And we showed up to the tournament, brought just a few. They pretty much hold it down themselves, but it was just fun to get to compete alongside of those guys. And they got first. They got first in adult gi and no gi, which is what it's about, I always joke with my students when we go to tournaments to win a team trophy. Like, the joke is always this, and it's not a joke. I'm completely serious. You guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw where I keep all of my medals and belts and all of my trophies for jiu-jitsu in a little box under my bed. But I always make the joke that we're not here for the gold medal. We're here because somebody has to win the gold medal. And I can't let it be anybody else. I can't let it be somebody else. And so it was fun to go in with the crew and win some team trophies. Then it was really fun to get to go to Body Fit the next day and teach a seminar, share some of my jiu-jitsu. That was the beginning of this month. I'll actually finish this month off with this Saturday, Sunday. If you're listening to this episode the first week it comes out. This Saturday, I'll be teaching guard passing in St. Louis, and we'll show some ideas on chest over chest. We'll have an instructional coming out soon. We're recording these seminars too. And so eventually, I think we'll even have a way for you guys to watch them, for you guys to purchase them or whatever. But we are going to look at guard passing in St. Louis, and it is actually for a really great cause. It's called Rolling for Enrollment. I've told you guys before about Mission 111. It is the non-for-profit my mom started 20-ish years ago, and she decided to volunteer. She voluntells you to do things. And so I got voluntold that I was teaching a jiu-jitsu seminar at Watson Martial Arts, the biggest jiu-jitsu school in the St. Louis area. Shout out Watson Martial Arts. None of you guys are weird at all. Nobody from that team at all is a weirdo. But I'm going to be teaching a seminar there, and it's only $20. It's donation only, and you can obviously donate more. It's for a really great cause. There is a school in St. Mark, Haiti. They cannot, basically their teachers don't get paid. They have no money. And what we are doing is trying to raise money just so these kids that go to school in St. Mark have teachers that are actually not just volunteering, have teachers that are actually getting paid to teach them. And so it's a super good cause. You will learn great jiu-jitsu. You will learn great passing. But maybe it's a little too far of a drive. You're in Missouri, but you're like, dude, if it was in Kansas City, I would go to it. Well, don't worry. The next day, I will be doing a seminar at Parada Jiu-Jitsu. That's in Independence, Missouri. So it's right by Kansas City. And I will be doing a seminar there. Both of these are open to every affiliation, open to everyone. And at Parada, that isn't for a good cause. That's just for me. And so you probably don't want to go to that one. You know, you don't want to support Josh and his wild adventures. But support, I've got a son on the way, dude. I'm not trying to pull that card. I'm not trying to hit you with like, hey, come learn how to never get swept or submitted while on top again. For my son, you know, I'm not going to hit you with that. I have a newborn son, mine and my wife's first, and we're so worried about it because, you know, I'm just out here trying to teach jiu-jitsu. Nobody's coming to the seminars. And so I'm just joking. None of that's true. I didn't mean to guilt trip you guys. I obviously did, but come to one of those seminars. One's for a good cause. The other one's not. But both, I guess both, you could say both are for a good cause, you know? And both you will learn good jiu-jitsu. I really do. I can't wait to, we have like half of the chest over chest instructional film, and I just cannot wait to share it with you guys. You guys really are going to like it. What's up, guys? Josh McKinney here, sitting down with my dad, Steve, and we are just talking about something exciting. We run simplifyingjujitsu.com together, and we have really the biggest product we've ever put together, the most work we've ever put into a product. Good work. And it is called Efficient BJJ Strength in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to call it Train Muscles and Save Joints, but I like yours better.
I think that is one of the biggest benefits, is the fact that you do save your joints and you don't hurt your muscles. But I think one of the biggest selling points is that it's 15 minutes a week, maybe twice a week.
But you get stronger. And that is the number one idea behind what we do. And then what we do is we put things in a simplified, logical, common sense order, so that you can kind of see how to enhance your training and keep yourself from hurting yourself outside of the gym, because jiu-jitsu is hard enough on your body.
There is so much injury risk in jiu-jitsu. Why in the heck would we have injury risk in our training?
Absolutely.
And so to me, right now, it makes a lot of sense already. But if someone were to purchase it in this month, what's really exciting is we have this thing going called Steve's Bundle. We're also going to throw in, for half off, how to train jiu-jitsu and 60, train until 60 and beyond, 60 moves that work into your 60s.
Wait. Say that again, Josh. What do they get?
But wait, there's more. If you, for 50% off, you can get How to Train Jiu-Jitsu, which is a Steve and Josh McKinney product, and 60 moves that work when you're 60, which I was watching back recently. We have a long-haired Bryce Allen getting neon bellied. That was when I made the post about him dying and us reviving him, and his mom was calling. She actually thought we killed him. Yeah. Woof. Great thing, but great product too.
Yes, it'll be helpful. It really does help people, and it'll allow them to think differently. It is different than anything that anyone has out there.
And so the only way to get it is to go to simplifyingjujitsu.com. You can go to simplifyingjujitsu.com/15. That will take you to a page that gives you a little more information, gives you some thumbnail, or gives you some interviews with different athletes that have benefited, and just a lot more information on the product itself. And you guys can check that out at simplifyingjujitsu.com. All right, and we're back. Like I said, I'm just talking about, I guess, really just the last couple weeks. But now, let's look at the next couple weeks. Like I said, have the seminars coming up. Be sure to come out to those. If you can't, we're going to record them. And I don't know how yet, but we are going to make a lot of these seminars that I've been doing available for purchase. And I know that people really like the content. And so why not just give more people a chance to see it? And so we will get into all that. That should be really fun to start doing. After that, we will be at Master Worlds. If you guys, Jiu-Jitsu Con Master Worlds, if you guys see me at Master Worlds, you recognize me from a reel or the YouTube channel that you subscribe to, be sure to come say hi. It's always fun. I know that there's all these relevant people at Master Worlds, and you go, man, they've got to be so tired of people walking up to them and being like, oh, hey, I'm a big fan, right? And those people probably are. But I am not one of those people. Nobody's coming up to me. When somebody comes up to me and says, hey, I listened to your show, me and my entire team will cheer as if we found the one sheep out of the 100 that was lost. We found one guy. We found a listener of the podcast. It was crazy. I went to this seminar, and on day one, 2 different people of the 40 people there came up to me and said, hey, I listened to your podcast. I'm like, what? Nobody listens to my podcast. What are you talking about? But yeah, it's cool to see all that stuff grow. Never feel weird about approaching me at a jiu-jitsu event. You may get recorded by Bryce now. He's a vlogger now. But as long as you're cool with that, just come up, say hi. And I don't know, make me prove my jiu-jitsu. We could just grapple live right there. Be like, hey, I don't think anything you say on the show is true. Let's fight right now. And as long as you're not intimidating, I would fight you. But if you were intimidating, then I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I'd probably be like, nah, I'm not Josh McKinney. Who? I've never heard of that show before. Man, the random show. Always staying random. So other little things, other little notes that I wanted to talk about. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the Gi Gazette. If you do not, you're probably missing out on all these different things that I've been telling you guys about, all these different new episodes that are going to be coming out, and all these different perspectives that we are going to get. But let's finish with, talked about what we've been doing, what we're kind of aiming for in the future, doing more seminars, selling more seminars. Let's look at the why. Why does any of this stuff that we're focused on in the ISAJJ Jiu-Jitsu show, why does it even matter? And the truth is, it doesn't. I'm just joking. I think for us, being able, if you really look at the jiu-jitsu space, there really aren't a lot of people, different people, making good jiu-jitsu content. If you think about that in terms of like, Okay, because there's always this fear that you can't start a podcast because that ship has sailed. There are already too many podcasts out there. No one will ever listen to yours. And that is one of the main ways that people discourage themselves from doing something creative, especially creative when it comes to content. And you guys know that on the show, I'm constantly trying to encourage you guys. As somebody who has not yet, quote unquote, made it as a content creator, who is still in what people would consider the sucky time to be a content creator, I'm constantly pushing to you guys who don't, you probably should get started too. A few reasons. One, because I can actually see now, I see little things of like, this instructional that we're selling with my dad, it's selling. And it's selling without us having to sell it. It's just selling with us having a commercial, having an episode, right? Nothing excessive, nothing different than what we want to be doing. And it's selling, right? The podcast has finally grown. The stuff that I used to sell, I would work so hard on the sales part of it, and it wouldn't sell very well. And I don't like doing sales. I'm not a salesman. I teach jujitsu. And so for me, it is this option. And of course, we all experienced something wild with COVID a couple of years ago, where we were stuck indoors. And for me, as a small business owner who owns a local gym, I realized, hey, this can't be my only thing. I love doing what I do, but is it safe for me to live my whole life just doing this? And so this is why I started the podcast. This is why we put so much focus into content creation now, is so one, if anything ever happened that was not expected, I have a different way of making money, but it's also this fun way that I get to have conversations with Robert Drysdale and Henry Akins and people that are out of my league, right? So there's all these cool benefits. But still, Josh, you started your podcast at this point 4 years ago almost, and you still don't make any money from it. Why would I listen to you? That's a great question. One, I definitely do make money indirectly from it. You're interested in having me in for a seminar, maybe your coach, and you never were 4 years ago. And I was a black belt then. I was good. I wasn't near as good, but I was still good. And now there's more interest, right? And I don't think it has to do with my body of work as a competitor. The only reason that people even care of some of my body of work as a competitor, in my eyes, is because I talk about it on my show and create a good buzz, and people like me and want to see me do good because they like my show. And all this is by design. All this is like, that is the goal for me, right? But here is the kicker of, oh, you've had a podcast for 4 years. I always like these two questions because people will always tell me, well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do a YouTube channel. I couldn't do an Instagram page that I've been talking about doing. And all these people, we always have this idea of something that would do really well with enough consistency and focus. It would do really well. But a lot of times we just talk ourselves out of even trying because of, oh, well, content creation, it's just too full. There's just too many people. They're so far ahead of me. Wrong. You're totally wrong when you say that. Think on this. How many people, give me a percentage, you can say it aloud in your car if you were alone. How many people do you know that create content personally? Less than 1%. I mean, unless you are just in a mecca of content creation, or unless you know absolutely nobody but one of the people you know create content. Less than 1%. How many people do you know that consume content? Holy smokes, right? Everybody you know consumes content. Everybody. Josh, I couldn't be like you. I couldn't do that. I don't know jiu-jitsu. It doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. It doesn't have to be a podcast. It doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be anything. You can figure out what you want to do, but I just think that the world is moving online. I tell my jiu-jitsu school owner friends this too. Jiu-jitsu teaching is moving online to an extent. Obviously, the reps that you get, they need to be in person. They need to be with a human. The rounds that you get, they need to be with a human. But the learning, which is really, if you think about it, what most coaches are still trying to sell. Like, oh yeah, you'll learn jiu-jitsu here. Our jiu-jitsu is as close to the source, or it's old school, or it's new school, or it's competition, or it's self-defense, or it's this, or it's that. And they have this whole thought on, yeah, that's what's going to sell people. And to me, I'm a really good teacher of jiu-jitsu. I know I only ever teach you guys how to learn jiu-jitsu, but when I start teaching seminars and start selling jiu-jitsu products again, you guys will say, hey, Josh, you should have focused more on that than on any of this podcast stuff. You're better at that. But here's the thing. Yes, that is valuable once I have online and can actually sell it to the masses. But it's not as valuable as coaches like to act like. They're what they're selling, what they're teaching. Because maybe I can help these individuals and maybe they listen to me. But there are coaches out there that have these amazing ways to sell all their ideas. And so they could be learning jiu-jitsu somewhere else. They could even be learning my jiu-jitsu that I teach and learning from an online person and getting way more out of the online person just because that person learns from and teaches from the same perspective that this student learns from the best. If you don't know anything about learning perspectives, be sure to check out the 3 lenses at simplifyingjujitsu.com/3, our totally free ebook. That will tell you about the athletic, the scientific, and the artistic lens and why people learn from those lenses and how people learn from those lenses. Really help you as a coach too, especially if you are in this mode of getting frustrated or like, hey, well then what value do I have? To me, a lot of the value of a coach is the actual building of the team, is actually making sure that the room is great. And yes, that does mean helping individuals to get them to be great in your room. That's a huge role, but it is not the only thing. Teaching, having everybody gather around while you show an instruction is not the only thing. Yeah, it's part of it, but to me, when I used to put so much thought and so much effort into that and then not into the other things, not into the other aspects of being a coach, especially coaching individuals, especially sitting down with individuals and not even showing them techniques, but giving them a 6-week plan of what they should be focused on, or 6 months, just giving them something like that. That's so much more valuable because that can't be provided online. And so that is why I started to look at the online market and say, okay, I know that it is dominated by a few different groups of people. But when it's all said and done, when we're looking at how fast jiu-jitsu is growing and how many people want to learn jiu-jitsu and how there are probably way more than 3 perspectives to learn jiu-jitsu from if you really look at it, then why not me just make sure that I can be online and spread my jiu-jitsu to the people that it would help the most? And then it gives me more time to focus on my teaching at my gym. Why does it give you more time? Because if you make money, especially money that isn't dollars per hour, that is going to help you if you decide to. If you're me and you're a psychopath who just, as Chris Paynes put it in the podcast interview that he and I just did on his show, The Villain Cast, just can't be content with anything. If you're like that, you're going to take that free time that you have and you're going to apply it to being better. At least for me, that's what I'm going to do. Take my free time that I create and apply it to making better students and being better at beating them up. And so that is, to me, the why of all this content creation stuff, of teaching these seminars. Yes, that has always been the goal. I've always saw guys come in, these high-level black belts with these secret moves, and they would show stuff. And I always loved that. That was always the coolest thing to get to see. And I'm sure that people that are white, blue, purple belts are still like, yeah, I love that experience. And then for me, getting to be on the other side of the experience, but getting to be the guy that travels and shows the jiu-jitsu and then tries to beat up everybody in the room, that has gotten to be so much fun. But still, is it super sustainable? Only if I start to charge outrageous amounts of money. Well, not if Bryce and I are bringing in content. Not if Bryce and I are bringing in these vlogs that also make money. And we can record these seminars and sell them online, right? And so it's just a little bit different of a way of thinking. But this kind of more, we've talked a lot about how much Atomic Habits has helped me, the book Atomic Habits. And really, when I look at this book, and they talk about the systems over goals idea and how much just focusing on the system of the podcast. And so like lately, the podcast has grown in popularity and awareness. I feel like almost like a separate thing. People that knew about the show, but still just weren't aware with how much better it's gotten, how much more we're doing on it. And it's really because we have this new system of putting out reels. We have this new system of putting out emails. We have a new system of creating content. You know, we focused on these systems, and you look at the same application. This is where we'll tie this hour-long rant into jiu-jitsu. And you look at this same application of like being able to train jiu-jitsu while working a full-time job. And I think being able to win at pretty close to any level while doing a full-time job. This is really what the whole focus of the show was on, right? The first episodes were on this idea that you work 40 hours a week, and the only way that you are going to be good enough to beat anybody is with more efficient training method, because you only get to train 3 days a week. You cannot beat the guys that are training 10 times a week unless you are more efficient than they are. And you have to be 3 times as efficient as they are. And so that is what this show was built on, was efficiency and effectiveness. And one of the most important things that you can do for your efficiency and effectiveness is look at the broader picture and say, how do I turn this into a system and not just a one-off work, right? What does that mean? So for the longest time, we would not sell instructionals unless I sent out a series of emails to sell these instructionals, and unless I hyped it for weeks and weeks and weeks on the show, and it was pretty hard. We focused on the system. We looked at what was actually happening, what was actually converting, what was actually mattering, and then we said, okay, well, we'll film one commercial. You guys just heard it, and it's about efficient BJJ strength in 15 minutes. It is simple. You know exactly what we're trying to sell you. If you don't want to buy it, you don't buy it. The emails are the same way. And it's just a couple. They've all been automated. Like I said, I was on vacation and I was selling instructionals last week. And I've had the business. I've had the ability to make instructionals. I've had all these other things. But since it wasn't systemized, we could get one out. But how often have I been putting out instructionals? Every 6 months? I really think we're about to get this shift to where they're every 6 weeks. You see that, plus tons of seminar instructionals. And you see this and you go, wait, how can they do so much? This guy's got to be the busiest person in the world. But the truth is, focusing on the system, it totally changes everything. Like I said, we have this system of creating reels. And now I'm not really worried about the growth of the podcast, because the podcast is growing by itself now. And so that lets me remove all that stress that I had about, well, how do we figure out how to grow the podcast? Do we get a coach? Do we do this? Do we do that? Like, no, we have a system that is doing it consistently. And so we do not need to worry about it. And if you think about your jujitsu that way, sometimes your system is every 6 weeks, I talk to my coach and I say, hey, what should I work on? And he always has something for me, right? That's a super simple thing for you to follow. It keeps you from having to constantly be looking out and going, well, where should I go? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Right? You have the right guy. You have a system of, what days you do certain training methods. Then it's decided. You don't have to mess with it. I find that like when I started to systemize our rolling and just certain nights of the week, we would just have a certain type of rolling. And that would be what we would do. Right? I noticed that was one of the biggest training method changes that kept my guys getting better. And to me, it was like very noticeable. They just kept getting better when we switched up because we were hitting the right dominant positions. We were hitting the right non-dominant position, neutral positions to fight from, and getting enough reps of them. Doing it at the right pace to really get good, efficient work from it, and of course, focusing on understanding of these things. And when we started doing that consistently, running the school and our guys getting better required so much less thought from me because there's a system of getting better kind of built into the curriculum, built into the learning. I could probably, I have class tonight. It'll be my first one back in a week and some change. I could probably skip class tonight, not tell anybody, and 80-90% of the people not even realize that I skipped class. One of my higher level guys would just go, okay, well, I guess Josh isn't here. They would probably show one or two things and then go, I guess we're going to spar from our normal Wednesday positions. Time to do this. This is how we get better. It's just the system. It requires no thought, right? And of course, you tweak the system. Of course, you do think about the system, but the system is easier to tweak, right? I can tweak that one Wednesday night for all of eternity by just making a few decisions and just looking at how the rolling is going and who is actually getting better doing the positions that we're sparring. I can change up the positions. I can change up the pace. I can change up what we do. And when you do that, when you have a system, you can tweak it. And so that is, I guess, where I'll leave you guys with. Very random show. Just I guess this one was more of my, you guys were my therapist. And I was just like checking in. I've been gone for 2 weeks. And I was just checking in like, hey, this is what's been going on. I don't think I've done anything morally wrong or murdered anyone. So that's good. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Random episode. Have a lot to look forward to on the show. We'll be back with a Tuesday episode. We didn't have one last week. Like I said, we're going to get that system hopefully within the next couple weeks. Definitely within the next couple weeks. Hopefully within this week. We'll have air conditioning in our studio again. If you guys can't tell, I am just sweating through this shirt terribly. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I won't give you a true outro since this whole episode's been an outro. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope that it makes you better. Hope just that you get some random little thoughts. Hope you're excited about all the things that we have going on. Hope you systemize something in your life and get to feel how big of a difference it makes. And most importantly, I hope that today's episode helps you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys.